Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Bree Noble, and I am here with Tara B. And we are finally back to our conversations. We like to call them like our coffee chats if we actually had coffee,
Yes.
which I don't think we do. I already
I've
drank
actually
mine.
got coffee with me right
Oh,
now.
smart. So I have my like awesome cup that I love, but it does not have any coffee in it anymore because it's already 7:15 a.m. and I start at 5. So
That's right.
but we are talking today about what it means to be an older artist. So both of
hmm
us are over 50. We're willing to
Yes.
admit that. In
Yes, I
fact, I just
am.
turned 54 the other day, and I'm kind of
That's right.
losing track of those middle 50 numbers. Like, what number am I again? Once you kind of hit 50, you're just like,
Well,
what number
and
am I at?
I'm 57, so it's reaching up there, but I'll still claim 50s.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, what, especially as women, like what are the things that are different now that we're a bit older and the good and bad, right? There's so many things that we need to claim as older artists that
hmm
make us like incredible, valuable, people in the world of performing
Yeah.
and that we didn't have that in our 20s. And then there are other things that we're like, I need to remember this and that. And, because I'm older and I might need to make a few adjustments for energy, for,
Right.
just different things that change in your physical nature and that kind of thing. So
hmm
it's going to be an interesting conversation. So I'm excited about this conversation.
Me too. You know, let me start by saying, Bree, what do you, or just asking you the question, what do you think is one of the things that like are a top thing that maybe older women artists struggle with? Of just like what comes to mind?
I think that it's kind of that first impression fear. Like,
Mm.
they're afraid that like they have to announce themselves as being older or people are going to go,
Mm.
oh, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if they're contacting a venue, they feel like they have to like apologize if they're, oh, well, I'm an over 50 artist or something.
Mm.
And they're afraid that like if they don't let people know or something, then when they see them, there's going to be like this shock factor or something like that. Especially if you've got gray hairs. I'm fighting against that. I just don't like the way I look with gray hair. It's not about,
Me
I don't,
neither.
not about like, I don't want to look old, although that is a bit of it, I'll admit. But some people that have gray hair look beautiful.
hmm
But I'm not there yet for
I'm not
myself.
either. I just colored my hair, so not afraid to admit it.
Yep.
I don't you think though, like to especially because you're saying like to show up and you don't want them to be shocked. I think that the whole thing of looks because of just in general, just getting older, that our looks change. And they should. I mean, that's normal. But I think this thing of, because our culture is still constantly youth oriented.
Hmm.
And so I think there's a pressure of still always looking a certain way or trying to look younger or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like somehow it's normalized for the men. Like the
Yeah.
Rolling Stones are putting out another album. Like, aren't they 80? Like, how are they doing
Yes.
that? You know? But like for women, you don't see that as much. And so
Mhm.
I think that just working hard to normalize that yeah, it's it's normal for women to still be performing in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Like I have
70s.
so
Yeah.
many artists in my female musician accelerator that are in their 60s and 70s, and they're still
hmm
out there doing it, but it's a little different.
It is. And I think, even just, I feel like on stage, what I've recognized, even for as far as like dress or whatever, it's like I can still dress in ways that I feel like are really professional, but it may look different than how I dressed in my 20s or 30s, and I think it's okay to embrace like the clothes that fit my body and the the things, to just like do the things that I can to still show up and um like I love having just solid colors so that there's at least something that's bright and happy. And, but
Mm.
I think just that thing of like, as long as I'm taking care of myself in the sense of doing the best job I can with who I am and my age, and then showing up, and being kind with the audience and how I react with them, I think it's like age doesn't matter then as much, or how we look, or, because I realize menopause creates different things. There's weight things that happen, skin changes, hair color changes, but all those things that are, I think that we can still embrace and be completely professional.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of the um with the audience, like what makes them feel comfortable, what makes them like you and all that is that it's a bit of a mirror effect, right? They see themselves in
Yeah.
you. And so
Yes.
if you're a 22-year-old and you're not playing to 20, a bunch of 22-year-olds, they're gonna
Mm.
like, oh, I don't identify with this person. But
Right.
if you're playing to mixed audiences, especially, or like I know obviously, we do sometimes we do retirement homes and places in,
Hmm.
women's groups and where people are all different ages but mostly skew older. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna accept you more because you look like them,
Right.
right? But I was gonna
It's
say, like, as far as dress, like one thing for me is shoes. So like
oh,
in my
yes.
40s, I got these bone spurs and I'm like, I cannot wear pretty much any. First of all, I cannot wear any heels. Second of all, I
Hmm.
cannot wear most flats either because they hit my foot in a weird spot and I have a big bone spur that sticks up and it hurts. So,
Hmm.
I've had to adjust my footwear of what I wear that can still look nice, but it's not going to be as stylish and pretty as what I might used to have worn.
Oh, that is something I thought about. I actually was thinking like with the tribute show that I do. So there's three of us ladies, two of us in our 50s, one is in her 60s, but the lady in her 60s and me, we always like we can't wear high heels. Like
Mm-mm.
if I wear a inch and a half, and it's got to be chunky for me because that's just my feet. They won't handle it. They'll hurt too much. And so yeah, I mean footwear does become, especially if you're standing,
Yeah.
you just you have to adjust. And how about, like, I was thinking too for our eyes. um I find like I finally am singing with an iPad this year, and I'm so grateful because there's backlight.
Uh-huh.
I don't have to worry about the stage light coming down where I can't really see very well, and fonts, to have
Yep.
fonts that are huge.
Well, okay, I've always had large fonts because I am low vision, but like
Right.
I definitely have worked with other musicians and they're like saying to me now, like, "Ooh, I like your large font," or "Can you help me blow this up?" Because they're
Yes,
needing more like a 14, 16 point font and not these tiny little
absolutely.
fonts.
Yeah, it is a huge deal. I never used to understand like large print books when I was younger, and now I get it. But light too, like, because I know if like if you develop cataracts,
Hmm.
it's like things start to feel darker, and so that's an important thing. How about even like hearing,
Yeah,
on
I haven't
stage?
experienced hearing issues. I think it's just because like I have visual issues, so my
Sure.
hearing is actually really, really good. But for me, the lighting is so important. My church has like a lot of shifting light because it's got a lot of windows. And so every
Mm,
different time of the day, like literally first service and second service, completely different lighting. So I've
right,
now
that's true.
become like very dependent on my piano lights. I have two of
Hmm.
them and I have them there all the time.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I've talked to people a lot with I have friends that are getting more like in-ear monitors, because even like
Hmm.
the on-stage monitors aren't, they feel like they can't distinguish as well.
Yep.
And so that becomes, I've seen that definitely more and more too with older friends where they're, even than me, that are getting those in-ear
Well, and thank God
monitors.
we have all this technology. Like we didn't have this 30 years ago.
That's true.
When you started performing,
That's right.
luckily you were young and you didn't need these things.
Right. Oh my goodness. Um, So, what do you think, like being an older artist, what do you think we bring differently to the stage, like in a really positive way that is because of our age?
Oh man, so much life experience, so much confidence of being up there so much. You
Hmm.
know, we feel entirely at home up there because we've been doing it for, like a lot of us have been doing it for so long. And even if you haven't been doing it for so long, I think you just have more confidence in yourself and your lived experience that you
Mm.
bring to the stage. You know, you've been through stuff. Like, when you've
Yes.
dealt with life's hardships, I think you just become more resilient in every
Oh,
situation.
for sure. I just think too, like when you say life experience, so even the stories that we share from
Hmm.
stage, don't you think like will connect with people?
Oh yeah.
And even the other thing I was thinking about was just the level of, like you start with a certain amount of talent, all of us have, and then to be able to develop it through the years. Like I know for myself, there are some things I feel like it just is so much easier than it was 20 years ago. Like even my piano playing.
Oh man.
Don't you feel that
Yeah.
way?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've really been on like a hyperdrive with my piano playing because I hadn't hardly played. And then I
Hmm.
suddenly got this job. So I had to like really step it up. But when I
Yeah.
think now, what was so hard for me 3 years ago
Yeah.
is just easy.
Yeah. And I think because we're also building on every bit of musical experience we've had in the past.
Yep.
So even when we start something new, I know like for me with choir directing at church, that was really a new endeavor, but I feel like it still was building from what I already had as foundations in music. And I'm sure
Yeah,
you've
me
had that too
too.
with,
I also with choir directing, like it was uncomfortable at first, but like
yeah,
I feel like I settled into it so much faster than maybe other things just because of the past experience I've had with music in general and just basically feeling
yeah,
comfortable and confident in my abilities musically.
yeah, me too. Kind of cool. So, okay, so let's talk about this topic. So, with doing gigs at this age, um, what do you do anything differently, or have you like through the years changed anything as far as like whether it's touring or not touring, or how long the gigs are? What has changed?
Yeah, I would say so, now I don't really tour. And so I can't really answer this, but like from the students that I work with, I
Yeah.
definitely see a lot more talk about that, like managing energy, making sure that you have days of rest between, or if you have to travel, don't, you know, book it such that you're arriving and then you suddenly have to perform. Like, give yourself a little
Mm.
cushion, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Just also like if you're an introvert, thinking about, what it takes for you to be on and then like
Yes.
giving yourself that break afterward and not like putting yourself back to back with these performances.
Mm-hmm. I I definitely, for me, just, with performing through the years, I realized the other day that I've been doing senior gigs for 24 years now.
Wow.
I know,
You were a
but
baby when you
I
started,
was a
Bree.
baby. But I've realized like with those, there was a time when I would do two gigs in a day,
Hmm.
and I never do that anymore. And I won't. I just won't. And even at Christmas, where I've got shows oftentimes almost every day, I won't. I try to like schedule. I just don't schedule other things in the day.
Yep.
It's that, like you said, it's conserving energy. And I remember when I used to play the airport, it was a 4 hour gig, and I played a
Oh.
lot of wineries and they were 3 hour gigs. And I just honestly, I will not take them anymore. Like I kind
Hmm.
of miss the wineries, but I don't want to play for 3 hours. It hurts my back even to just sit for 3 hours, at the piano.
Yep.
I've had a hand injury, so I really am careful now with even playing piano, but the energy level of that, I don't have it anymore. And so like I've limited myself where it's like at the most 2 hour gigs. That's just where I'm at. And someone
Yeah.
else might be different.
No, and I think, when I think about like festivals or places that you have to be on for so long, I was promoting at this local outdoor festival, and it was
Hmm.
like 6 hours and I was dead afterward. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I wasn't even performing, but like
yeah.
I think back to the days, like you said, where I used to book a gig for lunchtime and a gig at night, like during
Yeah.
Christmas. And I would
Yeah.
never do that now.
Yeah. Well, it is just understanding, I sometimes forget when I was young and like my grandma used to come to visit, she always would take a nap. Like she'd fall asleep in a chair in the middle of the day. And I couldn't really understand that. She was probably in her 60s then. But now I'm like all about the nap. If I can get a nap in, I'll take a 20-minute nap. And I get it because, I'm like, I forget that I actually am in my 50s. So my body is slowing down in some things.
I wish I could
It-
nap. I don't nap, but I go to bed at like 8:30 or 9 and I get up at
right.
5. So
Well, and
I'm
those
old.
things
I
do
mean, I'm just
change.
like what my grandparents used to do. Get up early, go to bed early.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? I know. And I'm not a late nighter either anymore. I'm 10 o'clock, I'm in bed. For me, that's early, but it's like, and sometimes 9.
Hmm.
But I think it's okay too. I think it's okay for us to give ourselves that kind of permission where, I encourage older artists, like if you don't compare yourself to people that are younger and feel like, well, maybe I should be doing all that. Or if somebody else is doing that's like, well, maybe they're running themselves ragged. So
Yeah.
we don't need to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially with the traveling, like I just think that
Mm,
traveling takes so much more out of you than maybe it did in your 20s.
yeah.
If you're
Even
in the car, I mean, all my tours were in a in a car mostly. I hardly ever
right.
flew.
Mm-hmm. Me
But
too.
just the long the long stints in the car and
Yeah,
sitting there and like you said, like your back can lock up sitting in the car for 5 hours driving to the next gig, and then you get out and you're
for
all like
sure.
hunched over.
Yeah. It's so true. And like you said, even just staying giving yourself some space, like if you do happen to travel yet, making sure you've got those spaces in between where you just have a moment to relax or to make sure you eat food
Yeah,
so
and
that you're
oh, I was just thinking about food. So that's like another thing, when you're in your 50s, you've probably had a few like health issues
hmm
or things that you've
yep,
realized I'm allergic to this or I'm allergic to
right,
gluten or if I eat too much sugar, I don't feel good. And all
yes,
those things that happen when you get older, and I have plenty of those things. And it just makes it harder to find food when you're on tour. You can't just eat the crap that they give you,
hmm
especially if you're doing, certain kind of gigs where they give you like pub food,
right,
you're just not going to feel good.
right,
And that was a thing that even when I was younger, I had to think about on tour. Like, remember that you need to be in top performance shape. Don't eat
hmm
this like pile of fried food. You're not going to feel good in the morning when you need to go perform.
right, right. And then sleeping well, like all those things together. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
the
definitely
hotel beds. Oh my gosh, right?
I know. Or even I remember doing some tour way back, but where we stayed in people's homes.
Oh yeah, I
And
did that too. I took the
and
trains a few times from gig to
yeah.
gig and stayed in people's houses.
Well, and even that's something that I'm not saying I would never do it, but for me as an introvert too, to have to go to somebody's home and
Hmm.
you've just performed and then they want to talk to you. And of course they want to talk to you. They're,
Right.
having you in their home, but it's like to that too. Like I just don't think it would be hard for me to do
Hmm.
just
Yeah, that's
because I
something
need
to
that.
think about because I think that, those I'm not an introvert, but
Mhm.
plenty of people in my family are, and I
Mhm.
get this now, but like it's interesting how I think most artists, even if they're introverts, they're not like when they're on the stage, they're energized. But as soon as they come off
Absolutely.
the stage and they have to talk to the people individually, that is what is draining.
Hmm.
And I think that's, something sometimes people don't understand that. They think, well, how can you be a performer and be an introvert? Because you have to put so much out there on the stage. But it's like a different venue, you know?
It is. It is. Because I think, no, I love people from stage. And I don't,
They're just far
right.
away.
And I don't mind talking to some like right away, but honestly, if I have people that start lingering, like
Uh,
if I'm taking down equipment or something like that, that's when I start to feel like, okay, like I'll just keep talking as I'm taking down equipment because I think I want to get out of here. I want to go
uh-huh.
home. And it's
Uh-huh.
nothing about those people. It's just
Yep.
simply, yeah, the energy. So how about this aspect of being older as far as like rehearsing? Like, do you feel like you have to rehearse as much as you used to, or like can you walk into situations and feel like you pretty much just have it, like you can kind
Oh
of go with
man,
it?
it's so much easier. I mean, especially after doing, this gig or whatever you want to call it, residency, every week,
Yeah.
right? I have to be doing
Yeah.
this.
A
So,
church.
yeah, at a
Yeah.
church. And so, over these last 4 years, man, like now I feel like I could just walk in and do most things,
Yeah.
without even rehearsing. Like sometimes
Yeah.
the rehearsing is really more for the other people than it is for me, like the people that are in the
Hmm.
band.
Right.
And here's the cool thing that I think this is something you develop as an, with so much experience as an older artist. I can literally rehearse my piano playing in my
Mhm.
mind. Do you do this?
Yes,
Yes.
totally. Even singing,
You
I'll do if
see
I'm
your
doing like
hands playing
parts.
it. It's like, oh, I feel like I practiced that. I'm
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Oh, that's so funny. I actually do that even sometimes because if I've been in a situation where I actually can't play piano or I have to be quiet somewhere, like in
Hmm.
the last place I was living, I would do that. I'd
Hmm.
picture it or even like harmonies them something. I'm just reading the notes through and then I'm like in my head, I'm just thinking them.
Yep.
That
Yep. No,
is, I never
that's
thought of that, but that's so cool.
oh yeah. I've noticed that I do that more and more now, just
Yeah,
because I I don't know, like I can do it while I'm doing something else. I don't have to like sit down and set aside time. Like I can just think through it. And
right.
you can think through kind of like the harmonics of like, okay, I need to play this
Yes.
song like, is this 1 4 5 3,
Yes.
6,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. And then I'm thinking about myself playing it on the piano and what it would look like and all that before I ever play it.
Oh, that's so, yeah, it's so true. I also have experience just because of other musicians, like because this tribute show that I'm in, there's 11 of us, but I would say the majority of the band is 50s and 60s.
Mm.
And so that too, like we were noticing we had a gig together in November and then we had one canceled in February, so we didn't have the next show till April. But there was no rehearsing in between. I'm sure everybody did on their own, but it was so fun to be able to just come together again, and like you just play and everybody's just they just do it and they can. Just the experience of all of that and it can jive so well together.
Yeah, I think
Um,
especially instrumentalists, like vocalists,
yeah.
you got to keep your chops up, right? Because if you don't sing for
Yes.
3 months, it's not
Right.
going to go well.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit different, but especially that's something maybe you can address, being a voice teacher. Like as you're older, like, do you feel like you have to keep your voice up more, or are there, tricks that you can use as you're older to keep your voice in good shape without having to sing every day?
That is something that actually has changed and for the worse in a sense. I don't mean it's for the worse. I actually feel like my voice is at a great spot of life. But I do find that I do have to do certain warm-ups now before I'm singing because everything just feels a little less flexible, a little less more tight. Even like, for instance, I did a gig yesterday and I had not done a gig in, I think it was almost a week, which I know it's only a week, but I really hadn't been
But for
singing.
you, that's a long time.
Right. And so I could just tell in my first couple of songs. I mean, I did warm up in the car, but yeah, I definitely have these like go-to exercises now that are usually an SOVT where it's like either lip buzzes or straws or whatever. And I've just found that those are my key things now that I do have to do vocally differently than honestly I could have easily just gone to a gig and like just everything worked fine. But it is, there is a little more work on that end. But I still think, as far as I'm still taking lessons too with a teacher. So I am checking in every once in a while. It's not often, but um, it's enough to just kind of help me with if there are things that are, habits or something I get into. But
Yep.
but it has changed. I will say that. Although the one thing I know is that it's so possible to still sing really healthy, and even though voices can start to really, people can lose high notes or they can vibratos get slower or whatever. I don't think it has to be that way.
Mm,
I think there's a way of taking care of the voice that definitely can. And sometimes it's even just, how we're um drinking water. Not, I don't mean at the gig, but just in general, or
right.
getting sleep.
Yeah, no, all that affects you for sure. I mean, I would say for me, like I don't practice the high notes and I don't have them anymore. But that's if I wanted to get
Hmm.
them back, I think I could.
I think you could too.
But
Yeah,
they're just not there right now. And I never
sure.
was a super high note person. Like my daughter could just bust out like a high E and I'm like, "What?" Like it was never
Yeah,
me.
right. But I think, and I do think that is the one difference of like, well, actually, I shouldn't just say singing, because even in piano, I have noticed that my agility as far as really fast stuff,
Mm,
that doesn't feel quite as much as I could do when I was younger. But I've
mhm.
learned in my playing too, it's like, well, I just adjust then. I can do something else. The
Right.
runs and things that you do when you're younger, it's like, you don't have to show that off. That doesn't have to be who we are now as artists.
Well, and nobody, it's not like they're going, "Well, I remember 10 years ago when you did it." It's like only we know this that we did it before like that.
I know. So yeah, I think it's also, yeah, giving myself grace on those things where it's like, it's not going to be what it was when I was 25, but these other things are good. And I think even just that comfortability level, like you said on stage, that confidence, that is one of the biggest pieces I absolutely love about being this age. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yes. Oh, I love that I feel like I could just sit down and, you know, perform, like literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone was like, if you don't perform right now, you're gonna die. Like I could do it. Like no problem.
Right. And I think, I thought about this too, how like when we are performers, when we walk on a stage or we walk in front of people, we have to be in that role of like, it's up to us. We got to say things. We have to take the leadership. And when you're younger, that can feel a lot scarier.
Yeah.
And I just feel like now too at this age, it's because I always think of it like, well, what can I give to these people? And that's a shift for me too. I used to be so concerned about what people used to think of me when I
Hmm.
was performing. And now it's
Hmm.
just of like, what can I give to them?
Yeah, and I think that with the time and experience, like we had our conversation before about like on stage mishaps. And like
Yes.
once you've been through enough of those, like once you've been up there and like you started to sing and
Yeah.
literally nothing came out, or you had a
Right.
voice crack or whatever, like you've been through all of those because you've been performing for over 30 years,
Right.
like nothing can phase you. It's like,
It's
oh, that
true.
happens again, like life is not over.
Yes. And I think that's again how the audience then can relate to who we are. And
Yeah,
they do like that. They will connect with us, like you said, even because of our age or the things we've been through. When you share those stories, they are going to connect well.
yeah. Well, did we cover everything we thought we were going to cover? I think this is a
I
great
think
topic.
so.
I think this is really something that this is something that I deal with day to day in my community with the older artists. Like I generally
Hmm.
track people 40 and over. But a
Hmm.
lot of them, like I said, are 60s, 70s and just thriving. So
Yes.
those of you that are listening or watching, like if you're worried that you're going to have to give up your music career when you pass 50 or 60, I'm telling you, there is so much on the other side of that. And we are proof of that. And my
Yes.
community is proof of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Don't let it stop you and don't think that you have to stop. I mean, again, just to look at somebody like Tony Bennett. Now, I know Tony Bennett
Yep.
was great, but
Yep.
he also used his voice into his 90s.
Yes, he
So,
did. Yes, he did. And he still
who
sounds
knows?
pretty darn good. You never know. You never know. Well, I think we're back doing these. We had to take a bit of a break for the craziness of we both work at churches and Easter and Lent and
Right.
all that stuff. And
And I
so,
moved.
and you moved, and yeah, it's been very busy. But I'm excited that we're doing these again. So I just
Yeah.
want to ask you guys if you
Hmm.
can think of anything you want us to talk about, like check us out on Instagram, send us a DM. I'm
Yes.
at Profitable Musician LLC, and Tara is at
Tara Brisky Music, both
spell
on
that
Instagram and yeah. Oh yeah. TaraBrueske. Looks like Brueske.
Brueske. Yes.
That's what I
Yeah,
usually
so we
tell
would
people.
love to connect with you on Instagram and let us
Hmm.
know, what you identified with in the conversation that we had and any
Yeah.
topics that you can think of that you want us to cover.
Yeah. Would be great.
Cool. Well, thanks guys for listening. Thanks, Tara. This has been a
Yeah.
great conversation. It's always so fun for us to catch up and talk and talk about this
Yeah.
day-to-day stuff of being a musician.
Awesome. Have a great day, people.